Hey, it's Ryan over at 2-Minute Tennis, and my goal with this video is that it is the best explanation of the topspin forehand you have ever seen. Please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Even share this video with a friend, as those are the best ways to support this channel. Now in this video, I'm going to be using the Topspin Pro for my demonstrations. It is an awesome product. I am an affiliate. If you're a coach, a parent, or a player, go in the description below, check out my affiliate link, check out this product. It is awesome. On the Topspin Forehand, there are 6 checkpoints. Let me show you them first, then we're going to go over each one. Checkpoint number 1 is the ready position. Checkpoint number 2 is the unit turn. Checkpoint 3 is the drop. Checkpoint 4 is the contact. Checkpoint 5 is the extension. And checkpoint 6 is the finish. So watch it again. Ready position, unit turn, drop, contact, extension, finish. We're going to go over each one, maybe even take some notes, and you'll have a couple things to write for each checkpoint, and you'll know what to look for in your own forehand. So checkpoint number 1, the ready position. Seems like it wouldn't be that important, right? Well, you want to begin with the end in mind. You want the ready position to make you ready. I watch videos and they talk about how the ready position should be relaxed and athletic and you can be loose. I disagree. You actually want your ready position to be ready. It's not called a starting position. It's not called a waiting position. Be ready in your ready position. First, if you are a two-hander, have both on your backhand, have both hands on the grip. If you're a one-hander, have your top hand on the throat. And I actually recommend to have the index finger touching the strings. Your ready position, the racket should be vertical in front of you. Like, don't have it like this. Have the racket on its edge in front of you. Get your elbows out away from you. You'll notice that the racket is 45 degrees and there's a good distance between my racket and my body. I know a lot of players like to wait in this position. It's not called a starting or waiting position. Get the racket ready so that you're equidistant to both sides. You'll notice from the back in my ready position, you can see my elbows are out. Don't let your elbows be in. Get your elbows out. When your elbows are out, it leads into checkpoint number 2 on both the forehand and the backhand. Each checkpoint's job is to move you along to the next checkpoint. Think about dominoes, right? Let's say you got 10 dominoes and you knock them over. What's the job of each domino? Each domino's job is to knock over the next domino. So your ready position needs to help checkpoint number 2 be correct, and checkpoint number 2 needs to help checkpoint 3 be correct. So you have a job to do in each checkpoint, including the ready position. Your feet should be wide, your knees are bent. Get your feet wider than you think you should, by the way. Most players are way too narrow. You want your feet wide, and you want to be split stepping as your opponent hits the ball. Get your elbows out. I always tell my students I should be able to smell your armpits. Like, don't be like this, get your elbows out. You'll see why in a second when it comes to checkpoint number 2. So as soon as you see the ball is coming to your forehand, that's when you're going to turn for checkpoint number 2, called the unit turn. You notice a couple things. 1, the tip of my racket is pointing up. So you don't want to take the racket super high, but you definitely don't want to take the racket down if you can help it. You want to increase your level of play. You want to turn more straight back. It's okay if your racket goes up slightly, but don't have it super high. Go up slightly. You'll also notice that since I'm right-handed, my left hand is still on the racket. I don't want you letting go. It's not called a take the racket back checkpoint. It's called a unit turn. So to turn as a unit, have both your left side and your right side on the racket. My head is similar to the height of the racket head. The racket's going to be slightly higher. My elbows are out. This is key. When the elbow is in, the racket tends to go a little far back behind you and it leads to an across swing, giving you side spin. If your elbow is up, it actually helps the racket either be slightly or vertical or even slightly closed, which is going to help you with checkpoint number 3. Remember, each checkpoint, its job is to help the next checkpoint be correct all the way until contact and after. So when you turn, be sure that your elbow isn't jammed in, but that your back elbow is up. It helps keep the racket, from being way too big. But it also helps you in checkpoint number 3 do what's called close the racket face. So I'll show you that in a second. So as soon as the ball comes, we split step, we got our great ready position, our elbows are out, and we're gonna turn with both hands on the racket. We're gonna move around in checkpoint number 2. So I don't want to wait until the ball gets to me and then get into checkpoint 2. The moment we see the ball come off our opponent's racket, we begin the process of moving our racket to checkpoint number 2. Notice both hands are still on the racket. Checkpoint number 3, it's called the drop. Now, I don't call it the racket drop for a reason, because we don't just drop the racket. We also want to drop the body. Tennis is a lifting game. Well, it's going to be much easier to lift the ball if we can get below it. So we don't just want to drop the racket to get the racket below the ball. We also want to bend the knees to help the racket get below the ball. But that knee bend can later on be used as the start of a kinetic chain where we get to move, pushing off the ground. We get to move the energy all the way from the ground all the way to contact. So we want to bend the knees, not just to get the racket below the ball, but also to get our body to then be able to push off and use a leg drive for power. Now, when it comes to the drop, you'll also notice that my racket is tilted down at about 45 degrees. Anywhere from 30 to 45 degrees is great. This is vital. If you find that you're not getting a lot of topspin, check this out. I want you to film yourself, and I want you to check this out on your forehand. Watch the pros. At the bottom of the swing, the racket is tilted. Some are tilted a little more, some are tilted a little less, but you're not going to find pros with their racket straight on edge in most cases hitting a heavy topspin forehand. You want the strings tilted down. Here's the reason why. We're going to go right to checkpoint number 4, which is the contact. When the strings are closed prior to contact and you swing up to the ball, your strings will then face forward. Let me show you this from the side. It'll be easier from the side. You'll see this. My strings are now closed. This is checkpoint number 3. I've dropped below the ball, and now I swing up to the ball, and you can see my racket's now hitting the back of the ball. If your racket is on edge in the back, I wish I had a coin. I would place the coin on the edge of my racket. If your racket is on edge in the back, it will be open by the time you hit the ball. Or as you're getting to the ball, you have to turn and rotate to try to get the racket flat against the back. And doing that, it's very difficult to time, and you'll most likely hit some balls out, some balls in the net, some balls go in, and you'll wonder why can't you hit the ball in every time. It's because you can't time it perfectly. If you close your racket in the back, the strings will then face forward at contact without doing anything. So tilting the strings down in the back is vital for topspin. Let's talk about the contact. This is where you make your money. This is why we do everything prior to contact, so that at contact we're doing something that helps us hit the ball in the court. So we were below the ball. We're going to swing away from our body. Notice my rackets go. This is called an inside out swing. If you're a golfer, you know what I'm talking about. We're swinging inside out. We don't want to swing outside in. That's going to put side spin on the ball. Top spin occurs from an inside out swing. So we're inside out. A couple things. My head is down. My body, I'm not going to like open up my body. I'm going to face to the side a little bit. I don't want to be facing forward. If you're struggling with consistency on the forehand, don't try to open your body so much by the time you hit the ball. You're going to basically be facing the net post with your body at contact. That's a nice way to rotate into the shot, but not over-rotate so you're out of control. At this point, you're going to be brushing up the back of the ball. That's the beauty of the Topspin Pro. When you practice topspin, you can actually see and feel it. Look at the ball spin. I'm sliding up the back, and you can see the ball rotate. As we hit the ball, we're brushing up the back. For more control, don't hit the ball. Don't hit the ball, spin the ball, going from low to high. That's why we had to get below the ball, so we can swing low to high as we strike. Another thing, and this is really important, for being able to turn our hips. We were talking about the hip turn. I want to make sure that my non-hitting hand is higher than contact. If you've ever been told that you kind of like hug yourself, or if you've ever felt your forehand and you hug yourself as you're hitting the forehand, it's because your non-hitting hand is dropping. I want you to go just on YouTube, or you're on there now, but watch videos of Federer and Naomi Osaka and Djokovic and Serena Williams, and you'll notice that their non-hitting hand is almost, not always on the high ball, but on a medium ball like this, their non-hitting hand is always higher than contact. Always. They're not going to have their hand like this, where their non-hitting hand is down. They always have their non-hitting hand up. There's a reason for that. And it's because if your non-hitting hand drops as you're hitting the ball, it becomes a counterweight. Your hitting arm's going forward, your non-hitting arm goes back, and you end up hugging yourself and you can't turn your hips. So an easy way to make sure of this is as you're hitting the ball, just make sure your non-hitting hand is higher than contact. For my students who like to drop it, I ask them to wave to me. So they have to turn with both hands, and then as they're brushing, I ask them to be waving to me with their non-hitting hand at contact, ensuring that their non-hitting hand is higher than the ball when they're striking it. Now, we've rotated our body to the contact, and that rotation will continue after contact. I want you to notice though, in my checkpoint number 5, which is the extension, I've rotated. I'm now looking over my right shoulder since I'm right-handed, but my head is still from contact. But I want you to notice that I've gone vertically up and I've caught the racket in my non-hitting hand. If we just talk about which checkpoints have 2 hands on and which checkpoints have 1 hand on, we had the ready position with 2 hands, we had the unit turn with 2 hands, the drop was with 1, the contact was with 1, and now we're back to 2 hands. And spoiler alert, yes, the checkpoint 6, the finish is going to be 2 hands as well. So we were only using 1 hand for 2 of the checkpoints, and 4 of the checkpoints had 2 hands. This is an easy way to add a ton of body control and racket control on your forehand. I'm swinging up. Why am I swinging up? Because topspin is a vertical spin with a horizontal axis. You're not going to swing across as you hit the ball and hit topspin. That's never going to happen. That's how you spin a basketball on your finger. You're going across it to put side spin. Topspin is a vertical spin, so you need to swing vertically. And since there's a net there, and we've got to hit the ball up over the net, we want to be lifting. The friction with the ball and the racket drags the ball up over the net, but the brushing motion puts the spin on the ball and it brings the ball down safely. So you hit the ball over the net, the ball easily lands in front of the baseline, and then you're super consistent. And then the last thing is the finish, where you're going to just let the racket relax, but notice how high my hands are. My hands are higher than eye level. My back foot turned up on the toe when I'm using a neutral stance. If I'm using an open stance, I might have my right foot on the toe since I'm right-handed, but when you're in a neutral stance, very much like a golfer, the back foot is up on the toe. So I'm just going to demonstrate now from the back. I'm going to let you watch it from the back, from the side, and from the front, just so you can get a better understanding of what it should look like. So watch this video a few times. If needed, take down notes, but understand the 6 topspin forehand checkpoints. Work on these, and I know for a fact your game is going to improve. This is Ryan over at 2minutetennis.net, and I'll see you in the next video.